Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And my name is Zach.
and this is where we talk all things Acolyte because it's the Acolyte Episode 3 pre show. So, Zach, are you hyped for this Episode 3?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous because I don't know, when there's a lot of people arguing on the internet, it kind of makes me back down a little bit. If we're in
Yeah.
person, I'll stand up for myself, but I just want peace at the end of the day. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I think I'm more nervous for that than whether if the episode is good or not. Does that make sense? I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
that,
I'll
that
watch it,
makes total
but
sense. Yeah,
um,
because there's been a lot of reviews, a lot of
yeah,
predictions. So
yeah,
we'll dive into that in this pre-show podcast here.
for
But
sure,
before
man.
we do, we want to recognize our top tier Patreon supporters. And they are Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Nitzel, Fenrir526, Maya Morris, and Maka Talatala. Thank you so much for everyone out there supporting the show. And I just like to thank everyone who is supporting the Star Wars Stuff podcast by liking our content, subscribing to our channels. We are everywhere, commenting right now. Someone just dropped a comment. If I take a look, it's Bender.
What's up,
Thanks,
Bender?
Bender, for joining us. Thank you for all the listens. Lots of people have listened to the pre-shows and post-shows and aftermath and breakdowns and my advanced screening. So thank you so much, everyone out there. So Darth Ace 1 is out there. I just said your name, I think,
There we go.
on Patreon. So yeah, thanks a lot, Darth Ace 1, for supporting the podcast the way you do. So the Acolyte episode 3. So allegedly, this episode is going to be about 42 minutes long. So, as is tradition on the podcast, we like to give suggestions, I like to say to Lucasfilm, to make changes to certain things that they're doing respectfully, with all due respect. Um, I think 42 minutes is still a little too short for episodes. Do you agree?
I'd say it depends. I think for shows like Obi-Wan, where we knew it was 6 episodes, I was hoping for them to be longer. But I think with shows like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, seasons that have been longer than 6 episodes, I've been more okay with like the 30, 35 minute, 42 minute. But at the end of the day, I will not complain if they're longer. So I understand where you're coming from, but I'm kind of not super picky about it. But I would always enjoy more screen time.
Yeah, I think it's a magical time right now that we're getting Star Wars TV at this high quality.
Yeah,
And I'm not complaining to the point where it's just the level of complaining isn't very high in regards to the length of these shows, but you look at all the other shows that are out there, they're usually about an hour long. And I know
yeah,
we've talked about this in the past, but we've talked about all kinds of other things in the past, and they've actually, if they weren't listening to us directly, they kind of addressed it. It's sort of like the release times. We
mm,
talked about that forever on the podcast. We said we need release times for normal TV watching habits. Kind of like back, we like to point back to. I'm older, so the '90s. There's appointment TV. There was a TGIF. There was the NBC Thursday lineup where it had Friends and Seinfeld. That was appointment TV. I really wish they would have started that with The Mandalorian, showing this at
mm,
9/8 Central, 6 Pacific, because that would have set the precedent. That would have given people that appointment TV
yeah.
watching tradition. And we've talked about before in the past also that dropping these movies in December, perfect date. Families can go watch these movies. When Solo dropped in May, yes, is the traditional Star Wars month, but they kind of planted their flag for December, and The Force Awakens was a huge hit. Biggest, largest domestic box office of all time, and it probably will never be broken given the circumstances of our times. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I wish these episodes were longer. I know there's a few other big time franchises that are about to release TV shows here coming up that I know are going to be an hour plus long for each episode, and it's just so great. And that's, I think, what everyone was expecting when we knew we were going to get Star Wars TV shows. We thought
Yeah.
we were going to get the hour long episode, super detailed, super in depth.
Think like Stranger Things, right? How the last episode was what, like 2.5 hours long?
Right. So yeah, Stranger Things with Netflix though, they drop billions and billions of dollars each
Yeah.
month for their shows and movies. Disney, I'm not quite sure if they're dropping billions per month because of course they have other things like all the
Mm,
merchandise and the parks
yeah.
and everything. But I mean hour-long episodes. Um I think the Mandalorian season 2 I think got pretty close to about an hour. And that almost felt like a mini movie.
Yeah.
And it was terrific. It was very, very
That
well
was really
done.
good.
Um, yeah, it was exciting. It's a classic episode now. I think we're gonna look back on that as being one of the great episodes. All the kids growing up now that watch that episode over and over and over again are probably gonna point back to it. And of
Yeah.
course, season 1 and season 2, I think are probably regarded as two of the best Star Wars seasons ever, along now with Andor.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there on the internet, throw that out there in the galaxy. That yeah, I think we do prefer longer episodes. So yeah, I want to give a shout out here to Wikipedia. They are out there. Hello there, General Kenobi. So yeah, Mike C says, and this is our good friend Mike from when we met him at Celebration so many years ago. I think maybe what was it, Mike? It was Orlando. I think 2017. I think Mike was actually a part of our Facebook group before that, and we met up. We kind of strategized along with him and Craig 5 that you've seen on the podcast, or Craig 4. And yeah, we hung out for the 40th panel. We did the overnight for The Last Jedi and the Orlando Convention Center. So he says longer episodes would be good as long as the story warrants the runtime. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Talking about that directly as far as the length of the shows, of course, when you think Disney, you think of maybe unlimited budget on the surface, but they do have budgets and they do want to either hit their budget or be under. And
Mm,
that's the tough thing. And then Bob Iger, he's put out the mandate that they're going to do more quality over quantity, which is, I think, what everyone wants.
hmm
But yeah, going longer than what they typically do now for these shows for Star Wars. I'm kind of wondering now with that new mandate that Bob Iger put out there that they're going to go for quality over quantity. What are we going to miss, or are they just going to spread everything out? It looks like there was a report out there that Andor is now officially going to drop next year in 2025. I don't know if you've seen that, but and of course we got Skeleton Crew dropping presumably at the end of the year around Christmas time.
Let's
And
hope so.
that's another thing too that I've been talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
why doesn't Lucasfilm Disney give us a Christmas present and give us something on
Mm,
Christmas Day? Because
that'd be
like I
sweet.
said, Star Wars is like a Christmas. They started off as like a Christmas tradition with the sequel trilogy, and of course we got that very first teaser trailer on Black Friday, and I
Mm,
thought we were gonna do something every day or every holiday after that, and yeah, it was somewhat disappointing, but yeah. So Mike says, "Yep, 2015 with you, David, and 2017." Okay, yeah, 2015 was was in Anaheim, and then 2017 Orlando. Last time at Celebration with the early Star Wars stuff crew was 2019 Chicago. Yeah, we did 3 celebrations together.
it's fun.
Man,
I,
2015 feels so long away now.
I didn't have my driver's license then, David. I couldn't even drive myself to the Force Awakens.
Yeah, that time was so magical, man. I'm so
It
glad
was
I went
great.
to that celebration. And these days, when you buy celebration tickets, they sell out in minutes. I waited until October to buy my tickets, but it felt like it
Man.
was going to be a big thing. And my buddy Carl, who I think everyone's seen on the pre-show, I called him up and I just said, "Hey, we need to go to Star Wars Celebration. I mean, we've never been. Uh, we're old enough now. It's just time. We have to go
Mm,
to at least one of these things." And you could feel that this was going to be a special one because Star Wars was coming back, just like it did in 1999 with the Phantom Menace. And going to that event was so great because I met so many people out there. I met so many other podcasters. Got to go to panels for the first time in my life. Got to see Gareth Edwards with my own eyes. Um, who else? I'm trying to think back, man. There's so many memories. I met Andy when you could actually meet her on stage. Um, who else did I see? I'm trying to think back. Oh, I saw Daisy Ridley and John Boyega walking the show floor. They put plastic stormtrooper masks over their face, but they still had the huge entourage. So you automatically knew who they were, but no one was like stopping them and like trying to get selfies or whatever. So Daisy Ridley did see me. She turned around. She gave me a big thumbs up because I was recording her. I think she tracked me, and I was just recording, and I was just snapping pictures. She gave me a big thumbs up. But yeah, those were a lot of fun times, a lot of fun memories, and
Yeah, that's cool.
we were talking on the chat too about 2027. You were asking if
Yeah,
Liam
we were talking
Neeson
about that today.
would
Well, I was
possibly do
just
a con.
yeah, I was asking if Liam Neeson was gonna go because now that Ewan McGregor's going to SpaceCon in October down in Texas, I've got this like Funko set. It's Darth Maul, Ray Park, and then Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan and Liam Neeson. They all go together, and I'm like, well, I could get Ewan to sign this one and Ray Park to sign this one, but I'd have to find Liam Neeson at a convention, and I had no idea if he did conventions. But then I asked you if you think Chicago is a potential location for 2027 celebration, because being in Michigan, that's like my dream. I'd love to make that happen.
I think it's high on the list. I think due to the political climate in Florida, I'm not sure if Lucasfilm Disney wants to have anything back over
Mm,
there anytime soon. So you would think Anaheim, Chicago. We just did one in Anaheim in 2022.
yeah.
Chicago was 2019. So Chicago does have the largest convention center in North America, I believe. And that place is huge. It's cavernous. I've told the story before about getting my um, what was the name of the game exactly? It was Fallen Order, I think. My Fallen
Mm,
Order poster, or was it the Vader Immortal poster? Well, one of those posters. They told me to take a left, take a right, go down the elevator, go to the next building, and go up to like floor number like 10 or something. It was very convoluted instructions.
wow.
And I'm like, why couldn't they just bring the posters here to the arena and just hand them out? And they're like, yeah, this is where they're at if you want one. So I ended up walking like a mile to get to this place. And there was this long corridor. And as soon as I got to these huge doors, I saw like a little person come out because I was far away. I walk up to it, huge grand hall, two people at a table with posters inside, and that was it. And I'm like, guys, I think this is I think you're a little far away from the convention here, but yeah, that was kind of odd. Um Cameron Monaghan was actually on the floor and I saw him for the first time. He was there with the those troopers that they introduced in the video game. What are they
Mm,
called?
man, they're not Sith troopers. That's Rise of Skywalker. They've got
Yeah,
like the electro staffs, right?
right.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like kind
if
of
you
like
know
the
the name
waist
of the
cape.
trooper in chat, send it to us. So yeah, Mike says David is going to buy our celebration passes after next year. So okay, so we got 2024 coming up. Actually 2025, Japan. I'm losing track of the years, man. And then
That's
you would
not good, David.
assume, yeah, I'm getting old. You assume after 2025 they'll skip 2026, or who knows? I mean, two movies are coming out in 2026, so I mean they could still do another celebration, sneak in another celebration, and do the 50th anniversary of Star Wars in 2027, and have it in Chicago or Anaheim or wherever.
Mm.
So yeah, I bought a bunch of passes this year, and it was a whole fiasco, and I might detail it in the future. But Darth Ace One says I would love to go if it was close to Indiana. I think Celebration 3 took place in Indianapolis, correct? I
Hmm.
think that was the celebration for Revenge of the Sith, and I think Vader was on the key art there because I remember the
That'd been
action figure. I
sweet.
think I got. I want to say that I have that action figure somewhere around here. Bender says I'd go to Star Wars Celebration, but I can't afford it all. Well, what I did for my first celebration is I actually just saved money. every paycheck I got from my day job, I took out about $40 for about a year, and that was enough money to pay for the whole thing. So
That's smart.
yeah, but now I deliver pizza on the side, so I'm making a whole lot more money. Darth Ace One says, "I agree, Bender. Yeah, it is super expensive. My dream, something I think about a lot, which I don't know might be abnormal, but I think about if I were running Celebration, if I somehow, some way was employed by Lucasfilm,
You'd
I
fly your
would
friends there.
I would actually, well, see, even more than that, I would do something like a big type of giveaway at that first
Hmm.
panel. Like do something like give away power banks, like they have the Pip Droid power
Yeah.
bank that they gave to some podcasters and influencers. I would do something like that. Um, I mean that all those power banks would end up on eBay, but a good amount of them would end up on sale online. But that would be a tremendous thing, I think, because I think going to Celebration, I mean, you have to think about the fans, and some of these fans are coming from across the ocean for this convention. And you got
Yeah.
to think about the money, the airfare, the lodging, the money they had to save. Not everyone has a lot of money, and it takes a lot to save for going to a convention like this, depending on where you live in the world.
Hmm.
And this thing is worldwide, so yeah, I really do sympathize with people that, I mean, you can hear different accents, you can hear different languages, especially in London. I mean, I heard maybe every major language in the world spoken there, and it was just incredible. Mike C says it'd be nice to have the 50th anniversary Star Wars celebration in Anaheim or LA and make it a week long event. 2007 celebration was in LA for a week. Look it up. Huh. I don't think I knew about that. I
Sounds like
didn't know
quite
it
the
was a
party.
week in LA.
Yeah.
And
Oof.
George Lucas is going to open up his museum in LA.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's not heavily predicated to Star Wars, but there is a minor Star Wars section. It's I think it's in reference to it's a film museum, I believe. Or is there a film department? I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. But the museum itself almost looks like a giant like Nike basketball shoe from like the aerial like views.
That's very cool.
So yeah, Darth Ace One says I'll go once David gets his own panel. Well, we're gonna try to get a panel in Japan. We'll see what happens. Um, I have a buddy who is on a Star Wars podcast, the Cantina Cast. His name is Albert. He lives in Austin, and we've been talking. And he's had a panel. I think he had a panel in Chicago, and I was in Chicago, and I got some Cantina Cast shirts. I got a bunch of them. They were just giving them away. Um, and I didn't realize he was in Austin. And then we just kind of started talking online. And he was actually at the ACOLYTE advanced screening. And we kind of hung out a little bit. And we talked about kind of teaming up to maybe to submit a panel request for a podcast. And since he'll be there, and also General Kenobi's bunker is also going to be there. And I told him, hey, if we get a panel, it'd be great to have you guys on, because I think
Yeah.
it's going to be me, Colin. I think it's just me and Colin at this point. There's other team members in talks to go to Japan, but I think it's only me, Colin, and Carl. So that'd be three of us, and we were thinking about bringing up Albert and General Kenobi as well.
Hmm.
So
Very
that's if
cool.
we get it. I mean, it just depends on a lot of factors, but yeah, that's kind of the hope. So, but yeah, thanks for the comment, Darth Ace One, about the panel. So we're trying. But back to Acolyte talk here. So episode 3 is reportedly 42 minutes long. Reportedly. And of course, the reviews, as Zach alluded to in the beginning of the podcast, are very interesting. The one I like is Perry Nemiroff's review here. And I've gone over it before. I'll put it up on screen here, so if you want to read it. So This was weeks ago because some of these people got screeners for 4 episodes. So, and I'll read it here. So, Perry says, I've seen 4 episodes of Acolyte, and thus far, it's a very big winner. Emphasis on very. The cast of the characters, the heavy emphasis on practical effects, the stunts, how they're exploring what it means to be a Force user, and how the Jedi operates. It's all working quite well for me. Amanda Stenberg is the headliner. A story like this needs. She's got her hands full with this one, and she soars tackling the challenge. I could also watch her command the screen during fight scenes for hours. The precision and grace with which May fights makes the combat exhilarating to watch, but also function as beats that speak to who she is and how she chooses to operate in a given moment. In general, I tend to love when Star Wars digs into the space between light and dark, and Acolyte feels especially rich in that department, exploring the multitude of different paths in life, the different relationships with the Force, what it means to have power, and the importance of how one chooses to wield it. Lastly, for now, here's the big part for us tonight on this pre-show. I really dug all 4 episodes, but Episode 3 in particular is sensational. It looks spectacular and features loads of high-quality craftsmanship, but there's also an especially stirring display of raw human emotion and complexity in that one. Something that I think winds up bolstering all the other episodes. So there you go. That's the review
Yeah.
that I've read that I've felt like, wow, that seems like we're going to get something big tonight. And there's other reviews out there and other predictions. And of course, people have seen these first 4 episodes. And unfortunately, people have spoiled the 3rd episode. I don't know the exact spoiler, but I was on Twitter the other day and I think I might have seen something. And if it's the thing that I read, to me, it's not that controversial. So I don't know. So what do you think about that review, Zach?
I think it's pretty solid. I guess I'm just thinking more of when I hear that reviewer talking about the Force and what it means to have different relationships with the Force. I just can't help but think about a giant Wookiee Jedi like laying into full offense mode to defend himself, and well, offense to defend anyway, like just totally going crazy to fight people off. I don't know. That's where my head goes, but I've liked the choreography so far. I've really liked the fighting. Selfishly, I want more lightsaber action because that's what I love. But even though there hasn't been a ton of it, I still think the fights have been great. Um, but that review gets me excited. It keeps me in kind of a neutral spot because, like I said at the beginning, I'm a little more nervous about the fans fighting with each other over the episode versus focusing on the episode being good or not. And, everyone has their own opinion or whatever. But that puts me in a better state of mind going into it for sure. Um, I don't know if there have been more reviews talking about you'll either love it or hate it, and it could be something that divides the fan base more. I don't really know. I haven't looked too much into reviews just
Mhm.
to avoid spoilers, but I that review definitely puts me in a good spot going into this episode.
Yeah, it's an odd thing for us to be in the climate that we're in. Um, I think the last reported tomato meter for the Acolyte was 94% for critics and like
Mm.
27% for audience. So it had a very low audience rating even before the show even dropped.
Hmm.
So that kind of tells you that it's getting kind of review bomb there. And when there's that big a disparity between the critics and the audience, it's usually the other way around. It's usually the critics don't like it and the audience loves it. Um, so yeah, I mean, you've seen episodes 1 and 2 of The Acolyte, and I wouldn't give it a 27%. I think that's a little
No.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
me too.
I mean, just the actual making, I mean, everything combined, I mean, there's no way it's at 27. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just no way. It's just weird, like, anticipation and people kind of projecting what they think is about to happen, and it's just kind of odd and strange.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, movies and TV shows get review bombed, and this is exactly what's happening with The Acolyte.
Was the
Uh,
Last Jedi review bombed?
no, it wasn't, I don't think.
Okay. Because that was more like I don't know, I want to say like a high 80s from the critics and low 40s or something like that from the fans. There was a big swing, but it was much closer towards the middle versus like a 90 something and a 20% something.
Yeah, the Last Jedi stuff didn't happen until after people watched the movie, which, I
Sure.
mean, that's
Fair.
the way it should actually happen because, I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't watch a thing, I mean, how are you gonna review it? I mean,
Right.
I guess people going off of the screeners, I guess. Maybe the screeners got passed around more than maybe what Lucasfilm and Disney kind of expected or anticipated. I don't know. I haven't seen episode 3. I don't think anyone on the podcast has. I don't think we have any, um I think we maybe have an idea of what's going to happen because just from the basic storytelling elements of episodes 1 and 2, we might see the ensuing incident tonight. I figure that we're going to see Mother Anastasia. I know she's someone that's prominent in the marketing, in the trailers, and the TV spots. We're probably going to get the flashback back to the 4 Jedi that commit
Mm.
the thing that sets May on her Kill Bill revenge journey there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an odd thing to have to kind of navigate. And when you have a Star Wars podcast or a Star Wars YouTube channel, um, it seems like the negative ones get a lot of views. They get a lot of views, a lot of listens. And with the views and listens, I mean, they make a lot of money too. Um, in the YouTube world, I think you really need a lot, like maybe thousands, millions of views to actually make any
Yeah.
type of money. Our podcast, we don't really concentrate that much on YouTube. We do our shows live on YouTube. But yeah, we've never made a cent off of YouTube. But um, someone said out there on the internet, it's like all these people that are doing these negative review shows that will just say like outlandish things, they can't be positive because otherwise they would lose most of their audience. So
Mm.
they really can't be that positive voice out there, which is interesting too because I mean, yeah, I mean they would kind of lose all their income. But yeah, it seems like you make a lot more money being a negative reviewer than you do being positive. And if you go out there and you see some of those headlines, it's just kind of ridiculous. And it's like, are people really believing the things that these other channels are saying, or is this just like morbid entertainment, really? Because it's strange. I mean, some of these headlines are weird. Like, I think I
Yeah.
just saw one before the podcast saying that all the Acolyte crew was fired. Leslie Headland was fired or something.
Hmm.
It was very odd. And apparently, there's actually talks. Rain Roberts from the Story Group is talking about season 2 of the Acolyte. So are they going to recast everyone? I don't think so. I think the Acolyte is a success with
Yeah.
critics, and I think with fans that are positive. I mean, I love the interweaving of the different characters in the Jedi Order
Hmm.
here. I like the casting. I like the mystery. Um, the big mystery is who's under that mask. Who's the master? Do you
Yeah.
have any thoughts on that, Zach? Who you think?
Man, I mean, time for timeline's sake, it would totally work out for it to be Plagueis. It's what we want. It's what a lot of fans want. I think it could totally be a jaw-dropping moment on the internet, similar to, I guess, Luke Skywalker showing up at the end of Mandalorian season 2. I think it could be up to some sort of hype level like that. I'm not saying it would be the exact same, but I think that would be kind of a no-brainer. But I also wouldn't mind if it's someone we haven't heard of. Um, how crazy would it be if there was a crazy Sith rivalry between Plagueis and who this guy is? And like an Acolyte season 2 could be like two groups of two Sith trying to fight each other off just to snuff. You know, you have two fires and one snuffs the other out to take over. And um, I plant the seed of Chancellor Palpatine being involved in the Republic. I don't know. Maybe that's just something kind of off the beaten path of what people have been talking about. But who do you think it could be, David?
Almost from the start, um, I didn't heavily consider this character, but so many people on the internet considered Chimere as the guy in the
Hmm.
mask, and I was like, wow, I didn't really think that it would be Manny Jacinto, the actor that plays Chimere. But you look at the build, there's a scene in episode 2 where he's standing right in front of Amanda Stenberg. And there's also a TV spot where the masked character is standing in front of Osha or May. It's the same height. It's exactly the same height. And you
Yeah.
look at the shoulders too. The shoulder build. I don't know. I'm really going in depth into this, but another part of me tells me that it can't be him because it's almost like too obvious and they wouldn't do something like that. But you think back all the way before we saw episode 1, before we knew for sure there was a twin situation going on. You wouldn't think that Star Wars would do a twin kind of plot line again, but of course here we are, we're doing twins again.
Yeah.
And of course you assume, I think everyone assumes that it's going to be that there's going to be something a little bit more behind these two characters being twins. There's going to be more nuance than just it's like a Luke and Leia type situation. And of course, we got the dyad situation in the sequels. So, what's it going to be? I don't know. It might have already been revealed in episode 3 or 4. I have no idea. I'm going into this somewhat blind.
Yeah.
But my thought was Chimere is the masked person, and I did hear a podcast. It was Eric Voss. He thought this masked person is Plagueis, and that was his kind of thought. And to me, I would not do that. I would not make him Plagueis. To me, Plagueis, I guess it has to do with me being an older fan, because to me, Plagueis is immune, and that's his race, and I wouldn't want them to change that.
Oh yeah, thinking about the size of the helmet, that wouldn't really work.
Right.
I guess I hadn't put that into consideration.
Yeah, elongated head, elongated appendages.
Hmm.
But I mean, you think about that character design, and it is kind of an odd thing. I remember back talking about The Force Awakens. Everyone thought that Snoke was going to be Plagueis, and there was a rumor that broke out that yes, it's confirmed, it is Darth Plagueis. And then the whole Comic-Con thing happened, where there was a fan asking the writer Lawrence Kasdan, I almost forgot his name, about Darth Plagueis, and it almost seemed like he was playing with the fan, because he was like, who do you say? And he was like, Darth Plagueis. He's like, Darth Vegas. And that like spawned a bunch of like Vegas like memes and quotes online.
That's funny.
Yeah. And he was like, Darth Vader. And then J.J. Abrams like interrupted. He's like, no, we're not going to talk about plot right now. But yeah, going all the way back to The Force Awakens. I mean, all the way back to almost 10 years ago. I think fans have been wanting Darth Plagueis. I think we still might get him. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, the Acolyte is maybe the kind of like the apprentice to the apprentice in the Rule of Two. And then there's a master we haven't even seen yet. I think that's closer to what's going to happen, because it kind of subverts and goes around that whole Rule of Two thing where you can only have 2 Sith, but you can have other dark side users like walking around and potentially, I don't know, maybe do something creative with that. But yeah, Mike C out here on YouTube, he also says, I wonder if the flashbacks relating to what happened 16 years ago that night, especially the ones of the trailers, is part of a Rashomon-esque element, kind of like in The Last Jedi. What do you think about that, Zach?
Yeah, it's possible. I guess you can't, with something new like this in uncharted waters, you really can't rule anything out. Almost, it's anything can be possible, and it would be. I don't know. There's so much. I just have a hard time predicting so much of the show because it's so new. So, I mean, the High Republic's been established somewhat for a few years now, but it's definitely got potential to be all over the place, and I'm here for it. As you know, we'll see how it goes. But what are your thoughts on that?
I've actually not seen the Akira Kurosawa film Rashomon.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't either,
Oh, you
but I
haven't
guess
either?
I could have started with
Okay.
that, but no, sorry, Mike. That one kind of
Okay.
went over my head a little bit, but
So yeah, so Rashomon was brought up heavily with The Last Jedi,
hmm.
and they were comparing it to that film. But Mike, can you like expound on the whole Rashomon thing? Because I've read it, I heard it, but I just can't remember it anymore in
I'm
regards to
trying to think
Rashomon.
about The Last Jedi though, like if there was a significance to a night in The Last Jedi that related to an event that happened like years before on the nose, right? Are you tracking with me a little bit?
No, not really.
Okay. No, I guess I don't know. I have a hard time translating my thoughts into words, but maybe Mike will elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
Mike also says on YouTube that some have considered Darth Tenebrous, Plagueis' master, as a dark figure.
wouldn't
Yes.
his head not fit under the helmet either?
Well, yeah, Tenebrous was a Bith, like one of those Cantina
Yeah.
band aliens. So yeah, his head is a little kind of more round in shape, and the helmet is round in shape. And a Bith is actually more human like. So that would make sense.
Hmm.
Mike also says I hope it's not Darth Plagueis. Keep him immune. That's my thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Mike C says in regards to Rashomon, the same stories told from different
Hmm.
perspectives. Okay.
It'd be cool to see that night from May's perspective and that night from OSHA's perspective. That would be maybe they'd be remembered in different ways, or maybe things are lost in translation. But it'd be cool. I have a feeling those two girls are like puppets to the overall plot, though, of what's going on. Even at that night, I think that's kind of been talked about a little bit.
Yeah, Bender says I'm back. My phone died, and Bender asks, "What did I miss?" So
We just
luckily
talked
for
about
you, Bender,
spoilers for the whole episode.
luckily for you, Bender, you can rewatch us on YouTube, listen to us on your favorite podcasting app later on tonight, and you can hear everything that we talked about. But I want to move on before we lose time here. Looks like we have a little over 20 minutes until the episode drops, episode 3. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Amanda Stenberg being on the
Hmm.
Tonight Show. Did you get a chance to watch that interview?
No, I saw that she was there, but I didn't didn't listen to what she had to say.
So there wasn't a whole lot of Star Wars talk. I mean, it was kind of the typical Star Wars is a big deal. Star Wars. She said she had time to really think very deeply about how this is going to change my life.
Hmm.
I would think the same way if I got cast
Yeah,
or employed by Lucasfilm.
that's
That
cool.
that would be wonderful. And of course, we all know that in today's world with Star Wars, it can be divisive, um, and being a minority as well. That can be a really tough go of it. And she talked about how she loves Leslie Headland, that she's a fantastic collaborator,
Hmm.
and she actually said she loves her. And Leslie Headland has stated in the past that Amanda Stenberg was the number one choice for the May Osha role. So um, it was cool to see her on the Tonight Show. I usually am on top of watching the late night shows, but not so much anymore. But of course, we got YouTube; we can watch them there. And she just kind of joked around a little bit. She mentioned Celebration. She mentioned going to London. That she actually dressed up as Padme. I remember that. I remember seeing
Yeah.
her doing one of the. I think it was the one of the Ariel interviews when they brought up the Acolyte cast, who when we knew absolutely almost nothing about the Acolyte. And she stated she's been working on this for 3 years now, and that's how she's happy that she's able to talk about it now. And she is a big time fan. Hayden Christensen sent her a personalized video message, and I don't know if you've seen the video. They gave her an
Yeah, that
iPad, and
was
she watched
I'd
it.
react the same way. I
And
totally
yeah,
would.
I mean, she's a big time prequel fan, and she's definitely one of us. I mean, she's a big time
Yeah.
fan. Dressing up for Celebration, I thought that was a terrific thing that she did.
Yeah.
I wish more actors would do it to show their fandom. And
Even as their own characters. I mean, that'd be sweet.
yeah,
Right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it'd make
yeah,
photo ops 10 times cooler.
right. Oh man, that's a
Think
great
about
idea.
that, yeah?
So yeah, Ben Mendelsohn came out as Orson Krennic in London back in
Yeah, I
2018,
remember that.
and or was it 2016?
I think it was 2016.
Okay, 2016 in London. Yeah, wasn't able to go to that celebration, but he showed up and with some Death Troopers, which was cool.
Yeah,
And yeah, he's a big time actor, and he did the thing, and he kind of marched around and kind of went back, and I think he changed, but yeah, that would be cool if they dressed up as their actual
yeah.
uniform or costume in Star Wars. So yeah, Bender on YouTube says finally a fan of the Star Wars show, or finally a fan of Star Wars on the show. Um, there's been a few fans I think on Star Wars. Um, trying to think precisely of. I know Diego Luna was a big fan,
Yeah.
and I'm about to see him in 2 weeks at
Oh,
Superhero
cool.
Comic
That's in
Con in
2
San Antonio.
weeks?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he will be there along with Andy Serkis, who played
Nice.
Snoke,
You
and
met him
he
at
also
Celebration last year, right?
yes, me and Colin got to meet him,
That's
and
cool.
I'll never forget Colin going up to Andy Serkis and just doing the Gollum impressions right to his face.
I wonder if he got that all day. You know what I mean?
So Colin does a world class Gollum impersonation. I gotta hand it to Colin.
Yeah.
He is like, I mean, pitch perfect with that, and he did it in front of Andy Serkis, and Andy Serkis gave him the seal of approval. Man,
Dang.
he told him that is terrific, and then he said, "Let's take the picture."
What if he barked back at him with the same voice? That would have been kind of funny, but no, that's cool. That
Yeah,
Gollum
I
still
mean,
freaks me out to
if
this
he
day,
would have
man.
done that, the conversation would have continued, and it would
Yeah.
have been a big thing, and then the photograph people and convention people probably would have been mad at us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I got to talk to Andy Serkis. It was great.
Fun.
As most of you know that have listened to the podcast before, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
I love all that. There's going to be a new Hunt for Gollum movie. That's the working title.
Oh, that's cool.
That's coming out. So I'm really psyched for that. And
Yeah.
yeah, the Lord of the Rings was a huge
He's
time
also
for me.
incredible in Planet of the Apes. I don't know if you've seen that new trilogy, David.
Yeah,
Andy Serkis
yeah,
is really good in those.
yeah. He's the pioneer of
Yeah.
motion capturing, so to
Yeah. Oh,
speak.
yeah.
But I think Ahmed Best was really the
Yeah.
first as Jar Jar Binks. But
Yeah.
Andy Serkis really did come through in a big way
Yeah.
as Gollum, and I mean
Mm.
he's essentially made his legacy off of that, and
Yeah.
he's a terrific actor too, man. I mean he's just
I'd love
all
to talk
around.
to
He's
him.
just one of the greats in fandom, and he's a great guy to talk to. If you ever have any doubt in getting a photo or autograph with Andy Serkis, don't have any. Do it. He's
Yeah.
wonderful. I mean, it was wild just to be watching Andy Serkis in front of me, just like sign autographs, and I'm like, wow, he's actually just right here.
Yeah. That's super cool.
He's just a normal guy. Yeah, yeah, brilliant actor. Just great to talk to.
Mm.
So yeah, Darth Ace One says, "Peace out, boys. Hope the show is great tonight." Yep, same here. Bender
Sweet.
says, "I meant the Acolyte."
A fan of Star Wars on the Acolyte,
Yeah.
maybe.
And Mike C says Amanda is an awesome addition to Star Wars. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, she's doing great.
And Mike C also says on YouTube, that's right, no Gollum and Caesar without Jar Jar. Yep,
Mm.
Jar Jar was the first, the very.
I'm gonna
first.
say that. That's a really good line, actually.
Yeah, Ahmed Best will be at SpaceCon in October when you show
Yeah.
it. So
I hope I get to bump into him. That'd be pretty sweet.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be wild. SpaceCon that's happening in October in San Antonio, and essentially my backyard is gonna be almost like a mini celebration. So
Yeah. Stuff for
it's,
Ewan sold out like so fast, and it went live this afternoon. But yeah,
I don't doubt it, man. I
Yeah.
don't doubt it. So let me ask you this, Zach. Who is your favorite character in the Acolyte so far? I know we've only gotten 2 episodes, but who kind of stands out to you as being your favorite?
I like Soul a lot. I think a lot of people are really gravitating towards Soul. His acting's been incredible. Okay, that's the actor, but the character himself, he seems very human. Like he had the hollow picture of OSHA, and Jackie was like, "You still have an old hollow of your former Padawan?" He's like, "Well, got to remember the failures," or however he worded it, so you could kind of look forward and learn from them and move on. And that was a very relatable line, in my opinion. That's something I
Yeah,
related to
yeah.
a lot. And
He equated it to having a
yeah,
memory, having a permanent memory that he can look
yeah,
at, and
and that really resonated with me. I think every second he's been on screen has been great. I think Soul's been a great martial artist to some extent. I think that's what you call the choreographed fights, martial arts fights. It was really cool. He seemed way more smooth in a sense than the Jedi who died at the beginning of the first episode. But yeah, Soul, I agree, Mike. Soul was definitely the show stealer for me. Um, but it's tough because maybe that'll change as these next 6 episodes come out. But I can tell you right away, my least favorite, not because I dislike the actor or anything, was probably Yord. He just kind of like, I don't know, something about his character. I'm like, this guy, he's being the fun police a little bit. But I know that's how he was written to be. But at the same time, it's cool to see another yellow lightsaber on screen. But what about you, David? Who have you liked the most so far? Who has stood out to you the most?
I think the common answer is Soul, but to
Yeah.
me, I really like Yord.
Sorry to
I
rain on your parade.
Yeah, I really just like the way that Charlie Barnett is portraying this
Yeah.
particular Jedi.
Yeah.
Um,
He's
he's
the acting is
very,
incredible for him.
yeah, very much by the book.
Yeah.
Um, he's got the non-traditional lightsaber. He's got the yellow lightsaber, and we saw him use it as a flashlight.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah, he has a lot of nuance to him. Um, I mean, he's doing a lot of he's brilliant actor. I mean, I think he went to Juilliard. He also has the infamous interview where he told, and we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, but he
There's a comment
basically
about it further up earlier tonight, but I've been thinking about that a lot. And his face in that interview cracks me
so
up,
okay,
dude.
so here's the thing. When I listened to that interview for the very first time, when Charlie Barnett said that Anakin blew up the Death Star, my brain didn't even process that. My brain was just thinking that I heard, or maybe my brain just automatically went to him really what he meant, as opposed to what he actually like directly said, was that Anakin essentially killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of processed in my mind. Not that he actually blew up the Death Star, because of course we know he didn't do that.
Right.
But
He did
he
kill a
was
lot of
talking
people.
about in context, he was talking about the fact that Anakin killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from it. And of course,
Yeah.
it set off a chain reaction, a lot like when you blow up a Death Star,
Yeah.
in the internet and set it on fire. And people made videos of, oh man, they're casting actors that don't know what Star Wars is and aren't
Yeah.
fans, and
I
it's
slip
like
up. I'm
it's like
not perfect with
yeah, I
that.
mean we all do. I mean, we all slip up, but I mean, I think common sense should kind of prevail. Of
Yeah.
course, he could have been also like messing with the fan base as well. Um, I think if I got to that point where I was actually being interviewed, I would maybe drop something like that
Hmm.
just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
I don't think the president of Lucasfilm or Dave Filoni would be happy, but I would like to do something like that just to kind of mess with
Yeah.
all the people that are super sensitive. I mean, it gave a lot of content to a lot of different people, but
Darth
I mean, it wasn't a
Vegas?
big deal. I mean, come on. I mean, the dude is a
Yeah.
Juilliard trained actor. I mean, how many of those people are actually like gonna be huge fans of Star Wars anyways? I mean, you get the best actor for the role, you don't get the best
Yeah.
fan actor,
Yeah.
you know? So it's just one of those things. But it does appear that Daphne Keene is actually a pretty big Star Wars fan as well. She was
Yeah.
on she was on a Spanish talk show, and they gave her a green lightsaber to twirl around, and she actually did a pretty good job. And she did something where she had to select her favorite character, and she was just consistently selecting C-3PO over and over and over again. And I think once it got to Leia, I think she might have switched to Leia. But I
Okay.
mean, yeah, she's a pretty big fan, and apparently there's a TV spot where she's doing some cool things with lightsabers. Plural.
X-23 with a lightsaber. It's what a
Yeah,
lot of people want to see.
yeah, and that's what Leslie Headland said. She wanted to see X-23
Yeah,
with a
for
lightsaber.
sure.
But yeah, Noah Richards says, "What's up, boys? I'm curious. High Republic. Which High Republic
Mm.
Jedi would you folks like to see or hear mentioned on the Acolyte? I love to hear a shout out to Avar Chris. I really want to see them adapt the books into like films or a
Yeah.
TV show. There's a lot of content there." And going back to my plea to Lucasfilm earlier in the pre-show here, you could do hour-long episodes of High Republic, man. There's a lot of
Yeah.
content in there. Just make the books. Make the books. I mean, it's all right there. That's another kind of plea, I think, for the podcast. I mean, Lost Stars. That would be a terrific TV show. Hour-long episodes. Let's go.
Yeah.
Or even a movie. Or even, I wouldn't want to say a trilogy per se of movies, but I mean,
That's the buzzword for Star Wars stuff. Oh, trilogy.
yeah.
Let's slap that one up there.
So, are you familiar with any High Republic?
Yeah, Avar Chris is cool. I mean, she's like smack dab in the middle of the cover of the Light of the Jedi book. She's pretty sweet in that book. That's one of the few that I've read of the
Yeah.
High Republic. Elzar Mann would be cool, but I mean, he's human, I think, so I'd imagine
Yes.
he's not alive. Load in Great Storm, but spoiler, maybe I think he died. I kind of can't remember, but I also liked his Padawan. What was his Padawan's name? It's escaping me. If anyone in the chat knows, I think his Padawan had like a hound or something
Oh.
that was around with him. And I think he showed up in the Disney Plus High Republic animated series that they did. I could be wrong. Maybe Loden Greatstorm showed up. But those are the handful of Jedi I would like to see. It'd be cool to see Skier. Is that how you say it? The Transdotion Jedi. I believe she's a female.
Man, I really don't.
Loses an arm and like loses an arm in a book. Then you see her in a comic book with one arm because it linked with the book or whatever. And I think she's got a purple lightsaber.
Okay.
And swings it around with only one arm. And because I think they're supposed to represent reptilian-esque beings and can like regenerate limbs.
I mean, I would figure. I mean, Trandoshan could regrow limbs, but I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a sweet question, Noah. I guess that's kind of my long-winded answer, but how about you, David?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the typical. I mean, the Rock character. What was the Rock character's name? Geode?
Oh boy.
That was
remember.
kind of interesting that they placed a character who's just a rock.
Sorry, Bel Zettifar. That's Loden Greatstorm's
okay.
Padawan. He does have like some sort of hound that's with him. But anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I've only read Light of the Jedi so far.
Yeah.
I have I got Audible back, and I have a few credits, and I was thinking about listening to some of the books. I think the next book on the list, I think features Vernestra Rowe as a child, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, I got to interview Gabriel Luna, Gabriel Luna for Candensity Geekcast, and he brought up. I told him I'm also a Star Wars Stuff podcast, and he told me he'd love to portray Elzar Mann in live action. High Republic stuff. Cool. So he's actually a fan, and that would be great. He's actually from the Austin area, and
nice.
And of course, he's in The Last of Us with Pedro Pascal, and he's done a lot of big projects. But yeah, I mean, Elzar Mann would be cool. We're going to get the whip lightsaber, so we're going to get that on screen. So, yeah.
Who's that other Wookiee? Buryaga?
Yes, Buryaga. That would be interesting. But we're going to get a Wookiee Jedi here in Kelnaka. But I mean, to what
It'd be cool if they'd name drop him. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, That's a possibility because Leslie Headland did say that they're going to pull High Republic and EU characters. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
through the comments right quick because we got a little bit of time, only 5 minutes before the episode drops. Mike C says Yord is a nerd, but a cool nerd. So Mike actually says on YouTube as well, the people who hated Charlie Barnett because of that interview are the same people complaining about the fire in space in Star Wars. That's another big thing too. The fire has always been in space in Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah, it
that's a
has been.
George Lucas thing. Benner says, "What are your expectations for the show in the later episodes?" I'm expecting twists and turns. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a mystery thriller, detective story, so I'm expecting the unexpected.
Yeah.
Mike C says Lost Stars live adaptation, yes. Mike C says Catalyst 2, yes. The lead up to Rogue One, that would be fantastic. You get Ben Mendelsohn back, Grand Moff
He's so
Tarkin. We
great.
have the technology.
Yeah.
That would be like a Rogue One prequel, which would be fantastic. I think everyone would like that. I think that would make
Yeah.
a lot of money. Bring the whole cast back. You can actually bring back Felicity Jones, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen her do anything in a while. But of course, she went on to get nominated for an Academy Award for The Theory of Everything, I believe,
Yeah.
afterwards. But yeah, it's been a while, man. I mean, what is it, 2016 is when Rogue One came out.
Yeah.
Noah Richer on YouTube says, speaking of Wookiees, how do y'all think Kalnaka's outfit looked from last week? The quality didn't appear to be up to snuff of their usual look for Wookiees. Wasn't Kalnaka kind of like naked?
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, he
But he
had
had the
like
little man
something.
bun.
He had like something kind of almost like Chewie's bandolier kind of around
Yeah.
him. Like he had like stuff hanging off of it. I don't know if it was like tools or what,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the pre-show. I do want to give a shout out to someone I ran into today. Place 8 for lunch today. His name was Jedi. That was his actual name. So I
That's
just want to give
cool.
a shout out to him if he listens. If he listens to this podcast, I told him about Star Wars Stuff podcast. He was like, "Cool, I'll listen." So shout out to you,
Sweet.
Jedi. Thanks for the food; it was terrific. So that's it. We'll come back here for the post show. We'll give you a little bit of time here, 3 minutes until showtime here for episode 3 of the
Cool.
Acolyte. I hope everyone enjoys it. There's going to be a lot to talk about. It looks like Craig 5 is going to join us for that, and we might have some other special guests too, possibly. So
Cool.
until then, may the force be with everyone in tonight's episode, and we'll see you in a bit.
Boom.